it's very difficult to get people to pray a long prayer. If you shorten it a little bit, they're more likely to pray it. And
Exactly.
keep the essential elements though. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, and it just, yeah, you're right. It's just, and just like in marriage, I often say that too, like small things often, right? Like, because no one has time to make grand gestures towards each other, romantic holidays or even date nights. Like, I mean, just the
Date nights are
simplest.
so important. So important.
They're important, but perhaps, Father, working schedules, I don't know, but like my point is like, but if you have 5 minutes every day to say a kind word or become curious with your partner about their day or about, a book that they're reading or what's on your playlist lately. Or I mean, like I said, everybody loves talking about themselves. So
As you say, you got to set time apart, and you have to be serious about that. You have to be strong about that and say, we're going to spend this 5 minutes or 10 minutes here,
yeah.
and we're going to do this, and we're going to go on a date every week or every 2 weeks. We're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no matter what, it can be a home night date as well, right? Dishonesty, disrespectful, discrimination, detached, dismissive. That's it. I'm done. Relationships can be messy. Are you having trouble with your personal or professional relationship? Not to worry. As a relationship therapist and coach for over 25 years, I have a lot to share, and so will my guest experts. Let's get smarter in our business and personal lives so we can be our best selves. Now, let's get on with the show. Okay, welcome back, everyone, to the Luella Young Show. So today I have Father Thomas Morrow with me. Father Morrow graduated from St. Charles Seminary, Philadelphia, and was ordained in 1982 for the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C. He holds a doctorate in Sacred Theology from the Pope John Paul II Institute for Studies on Marriage and Family. His latest book, called Marriage, for God's Sakes, I love it, for God's sake, was published by Angelical Press just recently in April 2025. He has another book, Overcoming Sinful Anger, which sounds wonderful. I might have to get my hands on that one too. Has been a bestseller for Sophia Press since its release in January 2015. And more of his books and numerous leaflets and videos are available at www.catholicfaithalive.com. That's cfalive.com. So welcome, Father.
Thank you. Thank you, Luella.
Okay, I have the first question I'm going to ask is a question that I think many people might be asking themselves, many couples, and that is, how does a celibate priest uh, write so insightfully or speak? How can this priest speak about marriage? They have no idea what it is to be married. So tell me, how did you find yourself starting to write and speak about this topic?
Well, two things. Number one, I've worked with couples groups. Some of them are called Teams of Our Lady. There are different names of these groups, but I've met with couples groups once a month for maybe 30, 35, almost 40 years. And I listen to them, and we go through things, and they tell me what's going on, and I try to share some of the things that I know. And the reason I know some things is because I've read a ton of books on marriage, and so my book is partly a research book because I've read some of the best books on marriage and some of the people that are known as experts on marriage, and I put a lot of that information in the book. So
Great.
it's been a lifelong effort to help couples to live holy lives as married couples.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, I've done the same thing in many ways. Like I follow the Gottman method of couple counseling,
That's great.
mainly, and that's great, right? And so I was trained in that to a quite high level. But it's only, to be honest with you, it's only been in about the past year and a half that I brought a lot of my Catholic faith into my practice, and it's really helped. Like it's and maybe I can get into that later, but and I know that couples do really respect a priest's marital advice. And one way I know that actually is because there's just something recently started in our diocese here of St. Boniface where it's called date night. And there's, I don't know, maybe 30 couples that come together. And, for a very reasonable price, we have volunteers serving them a very nice dinner. But they have access to like maybe a couple counselors, like, myself, a therapist. And but they also, there's about 6 priests available for them to speak to as well. And I was told last year that like they're able to put a card up on their table, like, it's color coded. And let's say if it's purple, that means they would like a priest to come by their table. And the priests were very busy. And the therapists, I were told, were like more or less just sitting on the side. So it's interesting, hey? And I wonder sometimes, I wonder if it's because, as priests, you're sort of detached from that romantic piece that maybe you have a, clear vantage point on the idea of love or sacrificial love, especially.
Yes, in fact, priests are we're students of love, and we that's our mission is to teach
Yeah.
people how to love and to love them in the process. So we we are working at trying to help people love, and that's our big mission is to help people do that, and so to learn more and more ways to help them to love each other and to continue to love each other. What happens, unfortunately, in marriage so often is that things get kind of taken for granted, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then things slow down, and you stop doing the things that you used to do when you were romancing your spouse, especially the men romancing the woman, and things get boring, and they're not very pleasant. And
Yeah.
all the little negative things start to pop up and become much too important.
Okay, like the title of your latest book, Marriage for God's Sake. Um, I almost find, I think one could say that title is almost countercultural today. What does it really mean to marry for God's sake, rather than for one's own happiness and fulfillment and companionship? I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like that's one of the big problems nowadays. It's more of what can I get out of this marriage rather
Right,
than, yeah, you agree?
right. And what people don't realize sometimes is that by approaching marriage in a worldly sense, say, what can I get out of this? What can this do for me? I'm going to have a lot of fun in this marriage, and I'm going to get a lot of pleasure. What they don't realize is that the way to get that is to live according to God's plan. And God's plan is about happiness. It's not just about rules, arbitrary rules. It's about uh, design, following the design of God and finding real happiness and lasting happiness, and not the happiness of the world, which lasts maybe a few weeks or a few months or a few years. And that's not enough. And God's plan was for us to be able to continue to be happy in our marriages.
Okay, so what do you mean? Well, and this is interesting because I'm also writing a book about a marriage, sort of done in divine order, you know, in a well-ordered marriage, what that looks like, or a marriage that's designed by God. But I want to hear your perspective on that. Like, what do you mean by that?
First of all, uh, God teaches us how to love, okay? And the love that God uses, the word that's used in the Bible for the love of God and love of neighbor is agape.
Right.
And my own definition of that is the giving of oneself for the good of the beloved without conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And if couples realize that that's the kind of love that they promise, they're able to be more at peace with their marriage. One woman told me, she said, "I don't love my husband anymore." And I said, "Are you concerned for his good?" She said, "Yeah, I am." So then that's the love that you promised. That's the love that you
Right.
vowed.
Right.
You don't have to like your husband. Apparently, you don't like him so much. But I will tell you this: if you could keep loving him and pursuing his good and building him up in every way possible, he may become more likable. And that's what
Yeah.
happens. People do become more likable when we lift
Yeah.
them up.
Yeah. If you lift them up, I know I speak about that often, but you know, like I'm also feel very blessed to be like sort of in the gutters, you know. Um, like I'm not at the level where I'm working on friendships, you know, so much anymore, like cultivating your friendship, let's say. And you know, that might be in the first 5 years of marriage or something. I mainly get couples that have been together for at least 15. Like they're well aged, you know, like they're a good bottle of wine. They're probably a good 20 to 30 years married. That's usually who
Right.
comes to me. And I'm guessing it's because exactly where I am. It'll be 28 years this year. And um I feel, I don't know, it's sort of some, I feel like some people like just, I mean, I one thing I don't like to feel is that like people that are very faith-based, um, I do have some women that come to me and just say, well, you know, um, I made that commitment, you know, and I'm just gonna ride it out, sort of thing. It's, you know, for better and for worse, but they say it with such like,
Resignation.
oh, it's just not, it's not, oh yeah, like it there's no happiness in that at all. And that's not what I want, you know? So what would you suggest for that couple where, let's say, let's say, okay, I'm a woman, so I'm just gonna, let's say the woman is trying. Let's say she is trying to be kinder to her husband and he, let's just say he's a grumpy old man. You know, the glass is always half empty. Um, he does not take care of himself, let's say, doesn't see his body as a temple. His health is failing in his age, and I don't know, lazy. Like, let's just, maybe he smokes marijuana daily to calm himself. You know, what would you say to that woman? Like, I know you're not just gonna say, well, you know, it's a commitment,
Uh,
or would you?
No, no, I wouldn't say that. No, no. In fact, you know, when people come to me and tell me their story, I usually say in the back of my mind, this seems hopeless. But then when they finish talking and I get to speak, I say, I've seen worse things. I think we can fix this. And if you're willing to work on it, we can do it. And so a woman has to be very persevering. It may take her 6 months. I got one woman that was going to start loving her husband, and uh, I told her, I said, you're not going to see any results for 6 months or more with this new you, because it takes a while for a man to catch on and say, oh, what's he do? What's she doing? And what she's doing is she's saving the marriage. And, and a lot of the books out there on marriage say that one person can save a marriage. And it's so often true.
Yeah,
But
no,
but but they
Yeah.
have to work at it. Go ahead.
No, no, I agree. And I agree. But it is effort. And I think that's my message is like you can't just settle. You can't just say, well, better for worse. I made my vow and like it's almost like, okay, this is my cross, you
I'm
know?
stuck here.
Yeah. Yeah, no. No, it has to be action. Like faith is action, right? Like and so you have to be doing something every single day. And I too, Father, feel that, if you show someone enough love, like you say, sort of your words weren't pump them up, but maybe build them up. Maybe get curious with them, like everybody loves to be able to speak about themselves, right? And
Mhm. I like
so
that. Yeah.
if you did that daily, like I wonder, like how would a person not love you back, right? It would be hard to imagine unless they're suffering from mental illness.
Well, of course, we get in a rut, and then so it takes a long time to break through that crust. But
Yeah.
when you keep at it though, and that's the problem is you have to keep at it. And well, you can say, well, I don't see any results. It reminds me of the movie Fireproof, where the guy was working at building up his wife and loving her and doing things for her. And he kept telling his father, who was coaching him, "It's not working.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening." And but he only had a month or so to before he saw results. But with men, it could be 6 months, 8 months. It could be a year before a man notices and say, "Oh, she's being nice to me.
Yeah.
Maybe she likes me. Yeah, maybe I
Yeah.
should do something for her."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
You're right. It's perseverance, that virtue. But like, yeah, you have to that, but that's I think you and I, that's our point right here. You have to be actively doing something. You
Yeah,
can't
and
just give
in
up.
it for the long run. You have to
Yeah.
in it for the long run, and just say, I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't care if I get a response for him. I'm
Right.
just going to do this because I made a promise, and made a promise before God, and God is going to help me, and is going to reward me. I don't care if my husband ever rewards me, but I'm going to do what I promised,
True.
and I'm sure God will reward me.
True. True. I know. Like I often during the day, will just give myself a reminder, not my will, but your will, right? Thy will be done.
That's it. That's it.
Um, because I think that's what we have to remind ourselves is sort of like to have a better relationship with God, I have to be more God-like, which means seeing God in everyone, seeing Jesus in everyone. And if that's true, then you're not going to treat that person poorly, right? And
Right.
then also, I mean, I think the more you show love, I mean, the happier you are, right? Like, I mean, so
That's
it's
it.
it's not like
That's
you're
it.
losing out.
That's it.
You're
Yeah.
gaining.
There are two things that fulfill us. The first one is to make other people's lives better, and we call that love. And the second one is to get close to people, and that's called
Hmm.
intimacy. And those are the two things that fulfill us as persons more than anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Relationships.
the
Yeah.
the first chapter of my book is about, or maybe it's the second chapter, I don't know, but why not divorce? And they did a study of couples some years ago, around 2000, and they interviewed couples that were unhappy in their marriage, and then they came back and interviewed the same couples 5 years later. 64%, 5 years later, were now happy in their marriage after 5 years.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
that's a wonderful statistic that they found. And
That
the unhappier they were, the happier they were 5 years later.
yeah. Well, yeah, you're right. That is a great statistic.
Yeah.
Wow. Good. Okay, so how you mentioned intimacy there, and I'm just gonna say, that's and because you studied, in John Paul II Institute, um so I know he wrote and spoke a lot about intimacy.
Yes.
Um, uh, like I had a woman, I'll be honest with you, I had a woman that I was speaking with this morning, and I'm guessing she's about 35. And they're not at a great spot right now in the sense that he seems to be he's overdoing it. You know, he's a hard worker. When he comes home, there's often yard work. There's just lots of stuff always going on. And she's relatively busy as well. And I I don't think he's feeling the love from her. You know, it's that bad time of the year, bad time of the season of their marriage where kids are young. You know, everybody wants like she wants just want to go to bed early, you know, and he's talking about sex often, and he says, you know, like I I just don't understand how, you know, I'm supposed to just be okay with little sex or hardly any sex. Um, and she, though, her argument, I mean, it's classic, right? Her argument is like, well, I need to feel loved in order to have to feel like,
Yes, you nailed it. That's it.
yeah,
That's it. That's what everybody says. All the writers on marriage say, well, what are you going to do to warm her up? Because, you know, she's, men are like a match, okay? You light a match, it's hot.
yeah,
That's fine. And you blow the match out, and it's not hot anymore. Well, a woman is like an iron. The iron has to warm up. It takes a while to warm up. And
yeah,
the man is the one that's supposed to do that. And he does that. This is so important. He does that by calling his wife my princess, my queen, my sweetheart, my delight, my whatever, and develop all these beautiful names for her, and tell her how beautiful she is and how glad he is to have a wife like her, and he's always proud to go out on a date with her, and so on and so forth, to build her up, and that touches her heart. She says, "Oh, okay, let's go. You know,
yeah,
let's celebrate our marriage covenant." And he says, "I think that's what I was thinking about in the first place." But
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, but it can be a really sort of, I don't know how I could say it, like, yeah. A tough because they need to like as Saint John as Saint John Paul II, you know, says it a lot, and you said it as well. It's sort of like the whole purpose of a marriage is to give to the other, and like to serve the other. But for women, they often interpret that as submissiveness, you know, or sort of going against my desires or my wills, and feeling objectified. So how do you help couples get over that?
okay, so well, I do have a little dialogue in my book
Okay.
about a couple where they were like, you know, fighting each other all the time. And so the wife decides, out of great humility, to try to fix things. And he says, well, you know, he acts like he wanted to have sex. And she says, well, could we talk first? And he
Mm-hmm.
says, do we have to? And she says, yeah. She says, you know how it is. Men like sex and women like to talk. So she's starting. She's not, you know, she's not getting into combative mode the way he is.
No.
And so they talk. And he says, okay, well, what are we going to talk about? And she said, well, let's talk about you. She said, and she starts with what I can do for you. What uh, um, what one thing can I do to make your life better here in the family? And he thinks for a moment and he says, well, you can maybe when I get home, just give me about 20 minutes just to kind of relax and gaze into space. And then after 20 minutes, I'm on for you. I'm on for the children. I'm here for you. And
Mm-hmm.
she says, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
And then she says, now do I get one? And he's starting to warm up, and she's touching his arm and so on. And he says, yeah, you get one. So she says, well, please, when in front of the kids, don't ever, you know, put me down in front of the kids.
Yeah.
please don't ever do that. And he
Yeah.
said, yeah, I can do better on that. Yeah, I can do
Yeah.
better than that. So
Yeah.
they go back and forth, and she's touching him a little bit, and warming him up, because he has to warm him up too.
Yeah.
And and uh, and finally she says, it would be nice if right now we could celebrate our marriage covenant. And he says, I think that's a theological way of saying to do what I wanted to do in the first place. And she says, you're a regular Thomas Aquinas. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it takes a lot of humility, because he's being very boorish. He's
Yeah.
being very obnoxious. And men do that. I know all men, we all do that. But with the right treatment from a woman, we can be, softened up.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but a woman has to be humble, and a man has to be humble too. Humility is the great virtue of marriage.
Oh,
If you don't have
yeah.
humility, you're not gonna stay married. I mean,
No.
that's extremely important. Saint Augustine said the three most important virtues for the moral life are: first, humility; second, humility; and third, humility.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we need those. We need those.
Yeah. We need that in life more, right? Like, I mean, not just marriage, I find. It's sort of like in our vocations and everything. Like, I was just thinking about that the other day. Whenever there's a picture of Mary, she's to me, she's either looking up at God, for help and prayer, or she's looking down. But it's never like her eyes are never directed on you. And I just feel like it's such a sign of humility. It's sort of like, please, I need help, or, let thy will be done. Like that's,
Amen.
yeah,
Amen. She's a wonderful example of humility.
yeah,
Wonderful. And
yeah,
that's why it's so important pray, for example, to pray the rosary,
yeah,
because we're calling on Mary while we're meditating on the life of Christ and of the church.
right,
So it's
right.
Saint Francis de Sales said the best way to pray is to pray the rosary. How
Yeah,
about that? I mean,
yeah,
this guy is a great, great theologian,
yeah. Very
Francis de
powerful.
Sales. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know, like, so getting back to like conflict and what we were kind of talking about there, it's tough to be vulnerable on both sides. I mean, I have some very strong-willed women as well that are a little bit more on their masculine side, and that really like control. They like to control everything, right? And for them to receive is very difficult. It's to sort of say, you know what, I actually do need help. That's I know for men it's extremely difficult, but it's increasingly difficult for women, I think, especially with the rise of feminism and equality in the workplace. And I can do everything that you can do, and or I can hire somebody to do it, sort of thing, right? Like I don't need you, sort of thing, is I think what a lot of men are kind of feeling and hearing, and it's
This
scary.
this brings to mind the book that was written in the middle of the feminist revolution, The Surrendered Wife. It
Oh,
sold 500,000 copies. And this woman was a controller. And she has this example in the book where the husband says, I need to get the tires. I need to get new tires. And she says, so when are you going to do that, honey? And he said, well, I'll get to it next week. Well, she said, well, tires are important. And she goes on and on and on, trying to control him. And finally, he says, why don't you just run the car over my neck? And then she has the reformed version of the conversation. And he says, I need to get new tires on the car. And she says, thank you for taking care of that, dear. End of conversation.
yeah, yeah. So
That's
so
it. And she
exactly.
found that she couldn't have intimacy if she insisted on controlling her husband and making sure everything got done her way. She
Yeah,
said, no, he can do things. He's
yeah,
not an idiot.
right.
He can do things. Is he going to make mistakes? Of course he's going to make mistakes.
Yeah,
We men, we make mistakes. That's normal.
yeah,
But he's going to learn from his mistakes, and he's going to do better. And
yeah,
men are intelligent. They're very often intelligent,
yeah,
but they have to give them a chance.
yeah,
And sometimes treat the man as a little child and say, you know what you're doing, I know what I'm doing. And I had one couple that where that happened, and the guy used to do things. I think the reason he did things that she didn't like in response to that was because subconsciously he didn't like the fact that she was trying to control him and she try to lead him and direct him.
Yeah.
And he's a Latino, and you
Mm,
can't do that to a Latino. And this guy was very mild mannered, but
mm,
I think in his heart he was saying, you know, not even knowing what he was doing, he was just doing things that she didn't like at all, because he was ticked off at the
mhm,
way she was treating him.
mhm. Yeah, no, it's very emasculating for a man, right? Like, I mean,
That
to
guy, but he made a mistake too. He should have said, "I'm not doing that."
yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah.
I just can't do that.
Yeah.
Like the guy said, run the car over my neck. In other words, uh, I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
If you want a husband that's going to kiss your
Yeah.
hand, your foot every time, you got the wrong guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to lead and try to, do good
Mm,
things for you and for
mhm,
me, but I don't want you to control me. And I don't
mhm.
want to control you either, because you're an independent person. You have your own goals. So I honor that.
Right.
So,
Yeah, a phrase I suggest that women use a lot, to sort of get away from that idea of control, and even towards their kids, is something like, um, okay, so the car in Canada here would be something like, oh my, we need to put or I would really like you to put the winter tires on my car this week. We're expecting snow. I trust that you'll take care of that instead of,
yeah,
so are you going
yeah,
to do it? Are you going to do it? Like, when are you
yeah,
going to do
right.
it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You know,
schedule it. I'm gonna check up on you. Yeah,
well, yeah, like, but no, I trust because you're a grown man,
that's
I,
it.
yeah, that you're going to take care of this. Like, end of
Yeah,
story. Like,
yeah.
yeah. So,
If
okay.
he doesn't, if he doesn't, the wife goes to him, gives him a big hug, and says, "Honey, don't forget about the tires." Oh yeah, I'll do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Thanks.
But
Thanks.
what I say in the book is, for it's rather a well-known thing that if you want a man to do something, you most likely will have to ask him about 6 or 8 times. And I say in the book, the key for the wife is to ask him the sixth time or the eighth time, just as sweetly as she asked him for the first time. That's a Christian way of behaving.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good point. Yeah. And yeah, just not give up. You're right. That is the Christian way. It's never control. It's never manipulation. It's never critical remarks, like the Gottmans, criticism, contempt, stonewalling, defensiveness. There's no room for that um, in a marriage. It never works. Like, it never works. So you think we'd learn, but nope. No, we don't. So, okay, the sinful anger book, that's kind of interesting. In your pastoral work, like, how do you handle that? How do you, like, do you find that anger or that desire to control, do you find it's at the heart of many marital disputes and struggles? Like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
There is a poison in marriage. I was friends with one couple. They seemed to be doing everything right. They had 6 kids. They were
Wow.
going to mass every day.
Oh,
They were, very into the faith. And but they both had anger issues and they didn't, you know, go to somebody to work on that. And one point something happened and one blew up at the other, and the wife just walked away and walked away out of a really good marriage. And they went to the priest, and the priest didn't help them because he said, "Well, it sounds like you've already filed for divorce." Well, so what? You know,
Yeah.
you shouldn't be divorcing. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard. I would have said. I would have told him, you have a good husband here. Stop fighting and start making compromises and peace, making peace with each other.
Yeah.
This anger stuff, and of course, anger is an integral part of pride.
Yeah.
Pride is the father of anger.
Okay, maybe unpack that a little bit. Why do you say that, Father?
Well, because when people get angry, they're saying, "How dare you make me feel like this?" Or it's to God, "How dare you
Mhm.
do this to me? I don't love you anymore, God, because you're not doing what I want you to do." And
Mhm.
so we are saying, I don't deserve that. But we deserve everything, good and bad. We deserve whatever God wants. And that's where trust comes in. Trust is a very important virtue for the Christian, and saying, being able to say, "Lord, whatever you give me, that's what I want." And I've only gotten to that point to be able to say that in every situation in the last 5 or 10 years. But through writing books and doing research, I realized that no, we got to trust God. We got to
Yeah.
say whatever you want. And there's a wonderful book on this written by a Protestant minister. Um, the guy's name is Merlin Carruthers. He wrote a book called Prison to Praise. And he
Mm.
started praising God for everything,
Everything. Yeah.
bad, good or bad. And he miracles began to happen. He was working with a soldier. This guy was a chaplain. Carruthers was a chaplain. So he's working with a soldier, and the soldiers comes in and said, "Look, they're shipping me off to Vietnam, and my wife is going to kill herself. She said she's going to kill herself because she's an orphan, and she doesn't have any family. So when
Mm.
I go, she's going to have nobody."
Mm.
And of course, I don't really want to go to Vietnam, but I have to. So they're sending me there. So Carruthers says, "Come in here to the chapel and let's praise God for this." And so he's praising God for this. And the guy says, "I'm out of here."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then the two of them come back, and they say, "We're desperate. Can you help? You got to help us. You got to help us." So he says, "Good, let's all go into the chapel and praise God for everything that's going on here." So he convinced them, reading Romans 8:28, all things working unto good for those who love God. So if
Yeah.
you guys are going to love God, it's going to work out fine.
Yeah.
So he got them to trust that much, and they knelt down and prayed with him. Well, then the soldier goes out, and the wife goes out in the waiting room, and another soldier comes in along, and she says, "Are you going to see the chaplain there?" And he said, "Yeah." She said, "I don't recommend it." And then they start talking, and they start showing pictures, and he shows a picture of this woman, and she says, "Who's that?" He says, "That's my mother." She said, "That's my mother. That's the only picture I have of my mother, and that's my mother. I know her." And so now she has a family.
Yeah.
And then he's walking along, and he meets his buddy from law school. And
Yeah.
his buddy from law school says, "Why are you going to Vietnam? Go into the law office for the military, and you can work there with me."
Oh,
"Oh, good idea." So that's what he does. He goes to work at the law office. So, I mean,
there.
those are the closest thing to a miracle you're ever going to see in
Exactly.
terms of probability. That
Yeah.
was just amazing. That all the millions of people in the United States, and here this guy sits next to her, and her brother.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I know that's also a good argument against, you know, like when atheists often try to use science to dispute, you know, Christianity and death on a cross and resurrection and all that. Like there's just things that I mean, you just can't, right? Like there's no scientific reason for stuff like that. There's no evidence, the way that they want evidence. But I mean, there's just so many little miracles that happen. And some people will say, well, that's just coincidental. But like,
Coincidence, or is it God incidence?
it's what?
God incidence,
Yeah,
not
yeah,
coincidence.
yeah,
But
exactly.
and there are miracles in the church all the time now,
Yeah,
because every time somebody gets beatified or canonized, there's another miracle.
right,
There
right.
was an amazing miracle with Fulton Sheen. This
Oh,
family had a child. They love Fulton Sheen, so they named their child James Fulton Eggstrom, and the child was born dead. And they called all their friends and said, "Pray to Bishop Sheen, pray to Bishop Sheen, pray to Bishop Sheen for our child. He was born dead." So after 61 minutes, he came back to life.
Oh my
And the
gosh.
doctor said, "He will never be able to walk. He won't be able to talk. He won't be able to do anything. He had no oxygen for 61 minutes." The parents said, "Well, we're trusting in Bishop Sheen." And so what is he now? He's 15 years old, totally normal, totally
Wow.
healthy. Yeah.
Wow. See, and yeah, that's just another, like, and there's just so many other examples that we don't know of. And so the power of prayer. And you can bring that back to couples too, right? Like, I mean,
Amen.
oh, it's like
And
it can move
they got to
mountains.
pray for the grace of their sacrament. They got to pray for the grace of their sacrament.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, so anger then, okay, to bring it back to anger, it's very much related in pride, sort of like how dare you? And so if I'm working with couples and one of the spouses is very quick to anger, the best way for the other spouse to address that, I mean, the Gottman method, it would be, I would say something like, okay, when emotions get triggered and the heart starts to race and blood rushes to the heart, I tell them that means the blood is no longer entering your brain, in the amount it should. Therefore, you're not going to say anything intelligent at that point. So I strongly encourage to call time out and recollect yourselves, get back into that parasympathetic system again, rest and digest, and then have another go. And in a way that you're listening well, you're curious with one another's perspectives and things like that. But you're saying another method, maybe more like theologically based method, would be the next time you feel yourself getting angry, ask yourself, what is it about maybe my ego? What is it about my pride that I feel so much anger? Would you say that?
Yes.
Okay.
I give people in confession a little card on humility, and
Mm,
it's a prayer of humility. It's actually a shortened version of the Litany of Humility by
mm,
Cardinal Mary del Val. But I don't believe people are going to read long prayers, so I shortened the prayer. Okay, but
mm.
it's got all the same essential elements. But I give that people to pray every day for their virtue, and it's a hardcore prayer. It's let me accept contempt, being ignored, being this, being that, being belittled, all that stuff, and let me learn to accept all that. So
Yeah.
humility is extremely important in marriage,
It's
and
so, yeah.
any couple that has anger issues, they need to go to a referee and learn how to, deal with their anger and calm it down. People don't realize that you can express your anger without losing your temper, and
Yeah.
that's such an important thing to
Skill.
develop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a real,
skill.
yeah, yeah, very
Yeah,
much. It's again one of those things we really need to practice and put an effort in. You're right. Um, well, maybe Father, if it's not too long, we can even, if you send it to me later, your shorter version, we can add it to the show notes so
oh
people
sure.
have it on hand. It's funny you say that because I've been using, the Hollow app. Um,
Yes.
and I just been recently praying the litany, um, yeah, prayer
Yeah.
recently,
Yeah,
and it,
well,
it
you're a psychologist. You probably agree with my theory that it's very difficult to get people to pray a long prayer. If you shorten it a little bit, they're more likely to pray it. And
exactly.
keep the essential elements, though. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and it just, yeah, you're right. It's just, and just like in marriage, I often say that too, like small things often, right? Like, because no one has time to make grand gestures towards each other, romantic holidays or, even date nights. Like, I mean, just the
Date nights are
simplest.
so important, so important.
They're important, but perhaps, Father, working schedules, I don't know, but like my point is like, but if you have 5 minutes every day to say a kind word or become curious with your partner about their day or about, a book that they're reading or what's on your playlist lately. Or, I mean, like I said, everybody loves talking about themselves. So
As you say, you got to set time apart, and you have to be serious about that. You have to be strong about that and say, we're going to spend this 5 minutes or 10 minutes here,
yeah.
and we're going to do this, and we're going to go on a date every week or every 2 weeks. We're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, no matter what, it can be a home night date as well, right? I mean, I find nowadays parents are so concerned about, I mean, as they should be, screen times with children and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm okay, and I spent like a fair bit of time watching TV as a kid. Like I remember that. And so I'm telling couples, stick your kids in front of a screen for an hour and like get a good movie on for them. And yeah, you sit around the island in the kitchen and just catch up. Like because I know the Gottman's suggestion is having a State of the Union address every week where they spend an hour together or a half hour or whatever and just catch up on all the little grievances that have occurred during the week and they didn't have time to talk it out, right?
But
Um,
also all the good things that happen. I mean,
and that
just
too. Yeah.
I mentioned the guy who wrote a little article about this. His name is Peter McFadden. I mentioned him in the book. And what he did was he there are three things that he did. The first thing is when he came home to see his wife, they would dance. Well, they
Mm,
probably danced for 30 seconds. I don't know, but that's kind of sweet. And the
yeah.
second thing is every morning they would sit together after breakfast and tell each other how their day was going to be. But the one I like best is during the day, they thank each other for everything that he did for each other. And at the end of the day, they thank each other for the whole thing, for everything they did on that day. He said, I got so, uh, involved with all the petty things that she did wrong. I forgot what a great wife she was. And
Yeah.
so yeah, he really kept his marriage very alive, the love alive in his marriage because he was afraid that his marriage was going to crash down eventually and be kind of boring and not very interesting. But he did these things, and his marriage is still fully alive.
Yeah. No, it's so important. I know, like I I don't know. It's you can't state it enough. It's like the whole idea of gratitude, like from the moment you wake
Oh,
up
the big one.
to the moment you go to bed for the littlest things. Um,
Well,
but you,
they've done clinical studies on gratitude.
mm-hmm.
And they found that they had control groups, and they found that the group that was thankful several times a week or whatever, um, they didn't get depressed. They slept better,
Yeah.
and their health was better.
Oh, for
So
sure.
gratitude is extremely important, extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah. I know we're sort of in this individual like expression, individuality is such a big
Running,
thing, it just to me it's just sort of it's a sure way to like just a pity party about you. Like the more you focus on yourself, the more miserable you're going to be actually.
that's it. Yeah, when people come to confession and they say, "I'm having a hard time forgiving my sister-in-law," I say, okay, let's do a few things here. Number one, acknowledge that you have reason to be unhappy. Number two, you pray for your sister-in-law. Number three, you kiss that cross. You kiss that cross. Don't just accept it. You kiss it because you can actually save a soul by doing that. And
Yeah.
the last thing is stop thinking about it and start
Right.
thanking God for a whole bunch of things every day. Stop thinking about all these hurts that you've had.
Yeah.
Forget that.
Yeah.
That's past. You can't change that.
No. Be thankful you have a sister-in-law.
Yeah.
You know, that you have a husband who probably cares for you. Like I would imagine. Otherwise, that would have come up. And anyway, but yeah, and I'm sure you probably get people that come into the confessional and say, "I can't really even think of anything fun.
Can't think of
I'm
anything
I'm perfect."
or anything, any sins. Yeah. Well, there are not many that do that.
No. Okay,
And then
good.
I say, well, what you have to do is say, I'm sorry for all my past sins, and I'll
Yeah.
accept that.
Yeah.
That's standard procedure. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do have a question for you, and you maybe people would say, well, I don't know how that's related to marriage, but I kind of feel it is because there's been so much about like competitiveness within a marriage rather than complementing each other. It's more like competing with each other. And again, I think this is in part because of the feminist movement and women's autonomy and the me movements and all of that, Me Too movements and all of that. So there was a question that came up one time, like about like why can't women be priests? Do you have an opinion on that? Because I think it can sort of boil down, or it can be related to this idea of, distinct roles in a marriage and that be of God's design. There's a lot of things here in
I think that, well, first of all, we have the example of our Lord Jesus, and he was above a lot of the customs of his time. People say, well, it was just a custom. No, he was above the customs. He broke a lot of the customs in his time, but he didn't break that one. So a theologian, I can't remember where he's from. He might have been from Germany. I don't know, but he wrote a book about celibacy and said, it's not, men are not just different from women physically, they're different. The whole
everything.
male
Yeah.
ethos, the
Yeah.
way of being is of a man, and God chose men to do that because basically women are naturally much more religious than men.
Yeah.
And so it's a very countercultural thing to put this man in front of people and say, "Hey, we got to be holy," and for women to say that, that's more or less second nature, but not for men.
That's a
And
good
so
point.
man has to push that, and it's not just the physical difference, but the whole emotional, psycho emotional difference between the men and women, and it works. We have in our diocese, we have some of the best priests you'll ever have because all the young priests are taught in the seminary to make a holy hour every day before the Blessed Sacrament.
Mm.
And all our young priests do that. I've been doing it for 43 years or whatever. But Bishop Sheen used to promote that.
Yeah.
And there's power there. There's power. And so we have a very, very strong diocese. And not all dioceses have that.
That's wonderful. Well, you're doing something well there. But no, I love that answer. I've never heard that answer. I actually like I intend to invite a lot more priests on my podcast because you're wonderful sources of information when it comes to marriages and guidance. But also like it's a tough question, I think, for some people to answer, but I've never heard that answer. And I think it's so true. Like, because even in my own parish, like when I go to daily mass, I try to go as much as I can. And,
Great.
and the ratio of men to women at that mass, like let's say there's 25 people in the church, but I bet you it's 20 women to 5 men.
Right. That's
So,
right.
so, so you're right. And like, I think you can attest to those women in the church. My gosh, what would you do if you didn't have them?
That's right. That's right.
You're right. They're just naturally more pious and they sort of get it. They get because a lot of
Relationships. They get relationships.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
And
yeah,
they can connect with other people's hearts. Men, we have to work at that. We have to
Right.
work at that. But
Right.
women connect.
Yeah.
So the series that I recommend, the video series I recommend, is very interesting on and very good on that. Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage
Oh,
by a Protestant minister, Mark Gungor. Very, very funny, but he's got a lot of insights. A couple of mistakes that I mentioned. He's wrong on a couple of things, and I mentioned them in the book. But he's really right on in terms of the differences between men and women, and people can actually download his video series, "Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage,"
okay. Maybe we'll put
and he
that
has
link.
a shorter intro, which is "Tale of Two Brains," and is showing the difference between men's brains and women's brains.
Yeah, I think I might have
It's really
seen
funny.
that. Like
Yeah,
women's are like just full of bunch of compartments, right? And like,
connected. They're all
yeah,
the
yeah,
internet behind it.
yeah,
And
exactly.
men's brains are like little boxes. And they take out one box, open that box, talk about what's in that box and nothing else, and then put it back and make sure it doesn't touch any of the other boxes.
Exactly. One box at a time. Yeah. And that's why we're so good at planning and, like, I mean, yeah,
Multitasking, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I know that's what I mean. We have to stop competing. Like, it's
That's it.
just,
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. It's a Christian thing to tell ourselves if uh, if I do well and he doesn't have to do badly. I want him to do well too. My brother-in-law used to say whimsically, it's not enough to succeed in life. All your friends have to fail too.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. So if we were going to sum it up, okay, because we're at the hour here, but if we're going to sum it up, I would say more more gratitude always, more prayer, more complimenting each other, like verbally complimenting each other, and
Amen.
less
Yeah,
competitiveness,
yeah.
um, more humility, less
Humility.
big time, less pride, more of what can I do for you rather than what can you do for me.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
can you think of anything else, Father?
Well, that's a pretty good summary.
Yeah, that was like pretty the main topics there, I think, for sure. So yeah, thank you so much. It was really lovely, and I found you through an article that I read. Do you
Oh
remember?
yes,
Do you remember what it
yeah,
was?
yeah. Something about a great marriage or something, lasting marriage.
Yeah.
And I mentioned some of the Gottman things about
Yes.
spending time with your spouse.
Yeah.
The average couple spends, I think, 30 maximum 37 minutes a week.
A week.
That's 5 minutes a day. That won't
Yeah.
do it. That
Yeah.
won't do it.
No, it will not do it. Just like
Yeah.
everything. I mean, your vocation is to be in union with God and to serve God. Can you imagine if you spent 37 minutes a week with him? How would your how would your vocation be going? Not good.
Right.
So, okay. Thanks again, and
You're
I hope you have
welcome.
have a beautiful evening. And everyone else, thanks for joining, and we'll see you here next week.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode. Remember that you can watch the full episode on YouTube, where I plan to hang out the most. Your feedback and suggestions for future guests are incredibly valuable to me, so please don't hesitate to post a comment. You are an integral part of this journey.